Oh, yeah. I'm going to say this afternoon.
Okay. Last request for seats.
All right, good.
I want to welcome everybody this morning, 9 a.m. on a Thursday morning. I think a few of us are usually busy with other things, but this is a very important time for all of us. We're celebrating 100 years for the right of women to vote. I think it's a aspect that a lot of folks take for granted in our society. And we're very excited this morning to bring a panel of women in government to help celebrate this time. The other exciting part is our League of Women Voters is also celebrating 100 years. We've been in the force along with the voting population to ensure that people are informed and that people have access to voting. Some of you may have attended some other forums and information sessions. We're out quite a bit with the community projects. We were with the Women's March a few weeks ago, and we have certainly enjoyed collaboration with many agencies in the community. And so this morning, we want to start off thanking Hancock College for allowing us to provide this forum at their facility. We will have Dr. Walthers come up and introduce and give a welcome this morning. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here. We try our best to do community events whenever we can and try to say yes, so we're happy to share our space with you. And there's a lot of census information going on over there, and I got my one trivia question for you. And because the census does our reapportionment, right? Anybody know why we have 435 members of Congress? I love this question. You just get blank stares. Nobody knows. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. It's based upon the census count.
It's not, actually. The apportionment of the 435 is based on the census count. 1929, Congress couldn't come to an agreement on the number of members of Congress. Up until that time, every 10 years, they would add members of Congress to reflect the population. And they decided then in I believe it was 1929, that they wrote the Reapportionment Act, and they set the number at 435 in statute, and they've never changed it since. So think about that as you think back 100 years, and how the population has changed, and we're still using the same number that they were using 100 years ago to reapportion our country. I think it's a fascinating topic, and the longer version of it gets into they didn't want to grow it because they didn't want all of those immigrants from Italy and Greece and those kind of people having an outweighed. Sorry, Supervisor. Maybe there's some wisdom in that. I don't know. No, that was it was really a big part of it was an anti-immigrant motion. So it's so critical that we really start to consider how we do that. One other fun fact about this is actually the original Second Amendment to the Constitution that was never ratified, when they actually submitted 12 in the Bill of Rights, and one of those actually would have set the parameters for reapportionment. and how that would happen. And it would have capped, this is the best part, it would have capped the number of representatives at no more than 50,000, one per 50,000. So that works out, you don't have to do the math, you've already did it. It's like 6,100 members of Congress if you actually use that number. So, but it's an interesting, I think it's interesting. I've actually been trying to work on a whole project around that and I can't get to it, so I'm going to have to find a grad student or somebody. But, we're glad you're here. It's a great day to be here. A couple of things you might see in a little bit. You probably saw if you came in, you saw the tents and the tables set up. Today we'll be doing our food share program. It's a cooperation program that we do. It's funded through our foundation, the food bank, and our student government. And you'll see students out there passing out all kinds of good food. And you'll see our culinary students and our nutrition students out there actually with recipes, showing people how they can take the ingredients they're eating today and turn those into healthy and delicious meals. Except for the kale, but I don't know what, they never make the kale right. So, because you can't make kale right. So there's always kale left. Come by on Thursdays, there's always boxes of kale left over out there, but everything else goes. So we're happy to work with the food bank. It's a really cool program. Our students really need it. We know that we have food insecurities on campus, and we actually invite the neighbors to come in. We have neighbors who come in from across the street back there. And they're welcome to come and participate in that as well as part of our community outreach program. So welcome. Thank you for tolerating my trivia, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. So I got some trivia. How many people think Congress would be better with 6,100 members? No. We just have more people to be upset with. So. But it probably would be better if there were more women in Congress, right? Yeah, if you look at the numbers right now, you know, women are very much so underrepresented at our federal level. But if you look at the numbers over the last 100 years, especially over the last 20 years, the number of women in Congress has doubled in the last 20 years. And now they make up almost 25% of the entire body. So if you look at the federal level, like I said, about 25% in the House of Representatives, and about 26% in the Senate. There are 6 states now that have both their senators are women. California happens to be one of them. There's something out west, because I think it's California, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, New Hampshire, and I believe Minnesota have both their senators are women. I just read a study, too, that said that women, the areas that in countries that have more women leadership actually enjoy a longer life. And you'd say, why is that? Well, women are more concentrated on the things that might lead to a better life, a longer life, which is education, healthcare, those types of things. Less about blowing things up and finding reasons to fight each other. So I'm all about trying to have more women in leadership. If you look at the county, if you look at our local level, you know, when I said at the state and federal level, we're probably underrepresented. If you look at the local level, I would put us up against anybody with the women we have in leadership locally. You just look at the mayors in our county. Starting with the largest city, Alice Patino, the mayor of Santa Maria. You have Cathy Murillo, the mayor of Santa Barbara. You have Janelle Osborne today, we're going to hear from today, the mayor of Blanco. Paulo Carotes, the mayor of Goleta, and even Little Buellton has Holly Sierra. So, well represented at the mayor's level. At the county, the number one person at the county, 4,200 employees. It's like a large corporation. We have $1 billion budget with 4,200 employees. We have a woman at the top, Mona Miyasato. Her right-hand person is Terry Moss-Nisich, another woman. We're going to hear today from Cathy Fisher, who runs our Ag Commissioner's office. Dr. Alice Gleghorn runs our Behavioral Wellness, which used to be Mental Health. Betsy Schaefer is the elected Auditor Controller of the county. Joni Maiden runs Child Support Division. Joyce Dudley is our county's District Attorney. Jeanette Pell runs General Services. She is a licensed civil engineer. She's overseeing and managing the $100 million construction of the new North County Jail. Maria Elena de Guevara is our HR Director. Lisa Plowman runs our Planning and Development. Tanya Heitman is the Chief Probation Officer for the county. Tracy McCouga is the Public Defender. Dr. Von Go Reynoso is our Public Health Director, and Wendy Santamoda runs First Five for us. So the county, I believe, and I think our local cities, you're seeing at the local level much more engagement of women, much more, and what's interesting, it's a cycle, it's just like anything else. When you see somebody that looks like you, if you're a young woman and you see a Gloria Soto or an Alice Patino, it makes you more encouraged that maybe you feel like you have a voice and you want to run, and you have something to offer and something of value. One thing I just also want to, before I get out of here, is I want young people to understand and to feel that there shouldn't be this high bar of what you feel like, oh, maybe I'm not qualified to run for office, right? The things that we deal with on the local level, even at the state level, they're going to try to make it sound like it's very complicated. You know, a lot of times if you read about a budget or you're listening to a member of Congress speak, everything sounds so complicated. It's not. Most of the things that you deal with in your home life, in your day-to-day life, are the things that we deal with at the local level of government. Most of it's about learning how to get along, learning how to find common ground. And women, for some reason, are just inherently better at that than men. So I hope you learned something today. You have some excellent speakers today. Encourage you to participate in your local government. If you're a young person that's even thinking about looking for a role in government, whether it's as a department head or getting a job at the county, or if you want to stake your own claim and put that flag out there and decide if you want to run for office, come see me. My door's open right over there on Betteravia, and just call me and I'd love to sit and chat. Hope you guys have a great day today. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Beard. I'm a 5th District Commissioner for the Women's Commission. I've been on the Commission for 9 years. I've been up here for about 9 months now. I'm very proud to be a Commissioner. The work we do, we work with the Veterans Stand Down. We work with helping with the human trafficking problem on task force. We do political forums to help women get into politics, to understand why you want to be on commissions, why you want to be on boards. That's probably one of the most important things now. We want women to be on boards. We have done forums throughout to what we call Women Speak Outs for the last 4 years here. We've hit all of our communities, all 11 of our large cities. We've done speak outs throughout the community, and we have a little data on what people need. Each of our communities are different in Santa Barbara County, but we are commissioners for one county and one community, and we like to say that. And we're very proud of that, we need your help, and our supervisors need to listen to what women have to say, and we truly believe that we are the voice to help them, men and women, to move forward on what is happening on the very small local level, the community level. And I asked that this year we took on voting. We asked who vote, and we partnered with the Women League of Voters, and that was one of the reasons we partnered, and tomorrow is their 100th anniversary. And we're proud of that. So we want to make sure that our community knows that everyone, whether you vote Republican, Democrat, or Independent, it is your right to vote, and you have to vote. And your vote counts no matter what. As we've seen in Santa Barbara County, we've seen up here, people win by 4 votes, lose by 4 votes. Your vote does count. I do have the privilege of being the president of the Association of California Women's Commissioners this year, a task that I took on, and we have built 3 commissions out of 58 counties since we have taken on that task as president. That is our goal. Is we have 58 counties, and if you know people in other counties, we all know people throughout California, find out if they have a commission, if they have a voice, and help us engage to them. And I ask you to do that if you're interested in being in elected office, being on commissions, help women have a voice throughout the state of California. And I want to welcome very much today Cathy Fisher, and Cathy is the Commissioner for our Santa Barbara County agriculture, and she's going to be our keynote today, so thank you, Cathy. And if you don't know, agriculture is 69% of our county. I might have my numbers a little wrong, of what we do economically. This is the economic driver in everything we do for our county, and that was why we chose Cathy today, so thank you.
Raise a little bit higher for me. Can you hear me? Well, first of all, I just want to say what an honor it is for me to be your keynote here today for this very special event. Wow, 100 years. That's incredible. And personally, as a woman, I want to thank all of you for your dedicated service and commitment for women's rights and your advocacy. So thank all of you for being here and all of the work that you do. But being the Agricultural Commissioner, I thought with my comments to share with you today, I would have, of course, an agricultural spin on that, just to sort of educate you a little bit. And I have other statistics to share with you as well, so I hope you enjoy this. But the climb to the top can be tough going for anyone. But as women, there are particular hurdles that can make the journey upward toward positions of influence and power especially challenging, and even more so in the agricultural industry. Throughout the world, women are of vital importance to rural economies. Rearing poultry and small livestock and growing food crops, they are responsible for some 60 to 80% of food production in developing countries. In many farming communities, women are the main custodians of knowledge on crop varieties. It leaves no doubt that respecting the basic rights of women, especially in rural areas in developing countries, is by far the most effective means of fighting hunger and poverty in a sustainable way. This ranges from fundamental right to bodily integrity, to the freedom to choose whether to marry and if or when to have children, whether women can exercise their right to learn to read and write, to own land, to have access to water, livestock, and machinery, or whether they are allowed to open a personal bank account or take a loan, can be a decisive factor in women's chances of being able to provide for themselves and their families. If women have the opportunity to self-organize and take part in decision-making, often the whole community will benefit. Looking closer at home, from historic homesteaders to contemporary cattle ranchers, women have been the cornerstone of America's agricultural heritage. The USDA Census of Agriculture revealed that nearly 1 million women are working America's lands. That is nearly a third of our nation's farmers. That equals 36% of U.S. farms are run by women, and 56% of all farms have at least one female decision maker. Together, these women are generating $12.9 billion in annual agricultural sales. From the classroom to the farm, to the boardroom, women in agriculture are helping to pave the way for a better future. Women are scientists, economists, foresters, veterinarians, and conservationists. Women are property owners and managers. They are policymakers and standard bearers. Women are involved in every aspect of agriculture today. As leaders, it is our responsibility to make sure the next generation of women are educated, encouraged, and empowered to take on the challenges of meeting the world's growing food, fuel, and fiber needs. Women have a critical part of farm and ranch operations across the country and around the globe for centuries. But now, as women in agriculture, we have a unique opportunity to be the change we want to see in our industry. We must build on the incredible legacy of stewardship, innovation, and productivity, and help one another succeed now and moving into the future. Whether it is a farm business that feeds the world, land that you leave better than you found it, or a relationship that empowers and supports your community, industry, and neighbors, there are many ways to build and grow your contribution to agriculture. The time is now for each of us to step up to the plate and take on these challenges. Women in agriculture have a powerful story to tell, one of stewardship, resilience, and leadership from everywhere from the tractor to the boardroom. There are many opportunities to contribute your voice and experience to your field. Through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, you can take advantage of several key opportunities, such as electing responsible agricultural producers to Farm Service Agency county committees that are important to all farmers and ranchers. Committee members are a critical component of the day-to-day operations of the FSA. They help deliver FSA farm programs at the local level and work to help FSA agricultural programs serve the needs of local producers. Being a voice for your industry and shaping the future of agriculture by serving on a USDA Research and Promotion Program Board is another example how you can make a difference. These programs, overseen by USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service, focus on research, marketing, and consumer outreach efforts that improve, maintain, and develop opportunities for agricultural commodities. A perfect example of that is the lowly old cauliflower. Not a pretty vegetable to look at, but through these efforts, you're finding cauliflower everywhere. In pizza crust, cauliflower rice, and another example of that is the almond. Once just a nut, you now find it as almond milk and almond butter. Those are just a few of the examples of this program of how they can further advocate for different commodities. The research and promotion programs allow stakeholders across an industry to pool their expertise and resources and are run by a board or council whose members are nominated by the industry and then appointed by the Secretary of Agriculture. There are other examples of leadership opportunities for women in agriculture. There is also a USDA Women in Agriculture Mentoring Network that enables participants to connect, share stories, and share experiences with fellow women in agriculture. The goal is to promote the image, role, and leadership of women not only on the farm, but leading youth organizations, conducting cutting-edge research at universities across the country, in the boardrooms of global corporations. The list goes on and on. You can join the network by emailing USDA at agwomenlead@usda.gov. Other women agricultural advocacy programs include the American Farm Bureau Federation's Leadership Program, which recently launched Women in Ag. It's an online survey that aims to gauge the goals, aspirations, achievements, and needs of women in American agriculture in a variety of areas. All women who are farmers, ranchers, farm ranch employees, employed in agricultural businesses, pursuing ag-related higher education, or supportive of agriculture in other ways are invited to participate in the survey at fb.org/women. Women have been successful with obtaining all kinds of leadership roles in California, as Supervisor Lavigno pointed out. Examples of leadership at the federal level, as Supervisor Lavigno mentioned, was Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Kamala Harris. At the state level, we have Senator Hannah Jackson and Assemblymember Monique Limon. And look at your California Department of Food and Agriculture Secretary, Karen Ross. She's serving her third term. There are currently 14 women serving as county agricultural commissioners. We belong to a county agricultural commissioners Steelers Association. That's 14 out of 56, so we have a ways to go. The executive director of the Commissioners Association is a woman. But looking closer in Santa Barbara County, there's a total of 1,600 farms in the county. 328 of those is a woman running the farm. Some pretty impressive statistics. Other agricultural leadership positions within the county that are currently employed by women are the executive director of the Santa Barbara County Farm Bureau, executive director of the Consumer Resource Conservation District, the executive director of the Santa Barbara Vintners Association, president of the Grower Shipper Association, president of the Carpinteria Nursery and Cut Flower Association, executive director of the San Luis Obispo Santa Barbara County Farm Services Agency, the executive director of the San Luis Obispo Santa Barbara County UC Cooperative Extension. The list goes on and on. In county government, as Supervisor Lavigno mentioned, 1 out of 5 members on the Board of Supervisors is a woman. Our CEO is a woman. In 15 out of 25 departments, there are women department heads. During my time as commissioner, which has now been 9 years in the county, but I have 32 years of experience, I have served as chair of several committees, served on the board of directors 6 out of 9 years. I served as vice president of agricultural affairs, president-elect, president, and past president. Within my own department, we have 3 out of our 4 deputy positions are women, along with 1 of our agricultural supervisors. In closing, I would like to share a few inspiring quotes from emerging women leaders. Speaking up and participating can get you just as far as training and book knowledge. You are the CEO of your life. You have the power to stage and compose it the way you want it to be. Listen to understand, not to reply. At the end of the day, it's the people that matter. Become the one that people come to with questions. You don't need a title to be a leader. You lead by example. I measure my own success as a leader by how well people who work for me succeed. That's one of my favorites. While we may be individually strong, we are collectively powerful. And lastly, understand your strengths and passions. When you do what you love, it shows. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Questions that they'd like to ask?
Oh,
Cathy?
Go ahead.
I have actually a couple questions. Number 1, weights and measures sealer. What aspect or what is the description of that part of your title?
Thank you for that. That's another hat that I wear that a lot of people don't know what we do. So let me see if I can put it. You know when you go to a gas pump and you see that circular little sticker? That's called a seal. And every single commercial and weighing device in the county, we have to inspect for accuracy. So the Weights and Measures Division, we've been inspecting devices since 1913. And anything that's used in commerce to either weigh or measure, it has to be tested for accuracy. And that's that other hat as being a sealer. Every year, there's 6,700 commercial devices in the county that we have to inspect and make sure that it's accurate. But it's also not only a consumer protection service we provide, it also helps businesses. For example, speaking of gas pumps, we have one gas station out here that is very high volume gas pumps to fill up those large semi-trucks. So a lot of fuel is going through the gas nozzle. Well, our inspector found that they were giving fuel away in a very small increment. But because of the high volume, that gas station owner was losing $60,000 of fuel a day.
Holy.
Yeah. So we not only protect all of you to make sure you get what you pay for, but we're also protecting the businesses out there as well. Another example is when you go, say, to the grocery store and you make your decision what that shelf tag says, that's the price of it. You take that and you go to the scanner and they scan it. We also make sure that that's accurate, because in more cases than not, you're probably being overcharged. So check your receipts, everybody, and if you find you've been overcharged, give us a call. And we'll go out there and we'll do an undercover purchase to see if there are problems with this accuracy of the information in the computer database. More cases than not, there's a lot of problems. So please check your receipts. Pay attention to that, because these stores are making billions of dollars off of these overcharges. So that's just another example. Thank you for that question. That a lot of people don't know in the Agriculture Commissioner's Office that we also have that whole separate other division that we work on.
I have one other question. I grew up in the Santa Maria Valley, and over the years, especially over the last maybe 10 years or so, I see whole areas of agriculture disappearing to other entities. What impact has that had on our agriculture, which I think the number you said was 69% of our area is agriculture. What is that impact, if any, and how's that balance happening in the valley?
That has been an ongoing dilemma in California for many, many, many years. That's why they created in the Department of Conservation, the Williamson Act program back in 1975, to preserve open space and agriculture from development, where they give them a property tax break if you're in commercial ag. But what's happening now is, especially in a county like Santa Barbara, do you know that half of the acres in the county are public land? There's almost like, I think the figure was 1.6 million acres in the entire county. Half of that is publicly owned. It's either Los Padres National Forest, Vandenberg Air Force Base. So you think there's only half the acres in this county that's available, that are privately owned and available to be used for other things. That's why we have such a competition for land use in this county. In that you are seeing urban sprawl happening, especially in Santa Maria Valley, where now it's the largest populated city in the county. And so you're seeing that encroach upon agricultural lands. So you have land use policy. There is an agricultural preserve element in the county general plan. You have the planning commission that oversees those decisions. And there's something I want to touch on, that the county has an agricultural advisory committee that advises the county on impacts to ag, and they follow land use project proposals and land use policy very, very closely. So yes, it is a serious concern. It's going to come down to really agriculture intensifying the acres that they have to do more with that, to meet our food demands. And a lot of that is happening right now in the university system, being able to do more with less land.
We are hearing a lot in the news about cannabis, and it is an agricultural product. Is that under, first of all, is that under your jurisdiction, so to speak? And why is it so adversarial between other types of farms and the people that are also in ag growing cannabis? Is there, can you expand on the topic?
We could probably have a whole forum on that. In fact, we have. But to really condense the answer, to go back to your first comment, it's an agricultural product, and that's defined by law, which means it's not an agricultural crop, so therefore it doesn't get the agricultural exemptions or protections from the right to farm ordinance that other crops do. So it's not what I call, you're not in the club. Cannabis is not in the club that I protect. It's a separate, unique entity that has separate, unique regulations and requirements and restrictions that they have to meet. Now, going further, as the conflicts you're hearing, yes, the way the program stands now, and keep in mind this is a state program, okay? And there's a lot of changes going on right now with that because it wasn't working so well. So now you're seeing consolidation of different entities of cannabis being consolidated into one. The cultivation licenses was in CDFA. That's my state partner, and that's our role, is going out and doing inspections, make sure everything is accurate with the Food and Ag Code regulations. But you have all these other separate business profession code requirements, dispensaries and packaging that we don't have anything to do with. So you never get it right the first time. And so the state is seeing that it wasn't working well, and so they're reorganizing and they're going to consolidate these agencies into one, which hopefully we'll see that things working more effectively and efficiently that way. But there are requirements where cannabis has to test for a lot of things. It's required by law. One of the things is they have to test for 66 active pesticide ingredients. So because of that, if you're next door to conventional ag that uses these materials, 66 is a lot. Even some of those are organic. That's a conflict where, because of its high value, it ranges anywhere between $3 to $7 million an acre. So if they test and they detect one of these materials, then the concern is they will file a lawsuit for loss for that grower. So what that's done is the pest control businesses are making decisions to not treat properties next to agriculture because of that risk, that liability. So we've done what we could with a stakeholder working group. I put a group of 11 different stakeholders to talk about it. We didn't come up with a solution, but at least the group came up with 2 documents you can get on our website. One is called Best Management Practices. In other words, don't drift. This is how you don't do that. The other is how to get to know your neighbor. Because growers have grown up together in this community, they know each other, multiple generations. If there's a problem, they can pick up the phone, they'll call. Hey, we got a problem here, and they solve it, right? But cannabis is a new neighbor. They don't know that person. And so this document, Get to Know Your Neighbor, somewhat gives them ideas on how to get to know your new cannabis neighbor and how to find a way together for you to coexist. Something we just finished back in January, and we're quite proud of that work. And you can see that on our website because all these documents are posted there.
That leads to a question on organics. I understand that's the fastest growing segment in ag, and there's a lot of drift issues regarding organics as well, aren't there?
I haven't heard any because we do investigate drift cases.
Okay.
I haven't heard any, and you're right about that. That our organic acreage is increasing, and our number of farms that are organic are increasing in the county, and the plain and simple fact is that's what the market's demanding. And our biggest buyer of produce in the county is Costco, and the other is Walmart. And their buyers are the ones that dictate the market, and of course our growers only want to grow something that they're going to sell. And so it is organic, and our growers are responding to that. And in fact, the number one commodity that's organic in the county that people don't know is strawberries. So big demand for that. And then of course we have food safety is a big deal that we're responding to that because they're now doing food safety audits on the premises. That's like an all-day event for them. It's quite challenging. A lot going on for them.
Good. Can you tell the group the difference between what hemp is and cannabis is? Because hemp is a legal agricultural drug. Now, I was in Washington when it became legal that week, and the difference of what it is here in the county.
Sure, you bet. So as Tracy indicated, Congress changed the Controlled Substance Act where it removed industrial hemp. And it's no longer an illegal substance. However, marijuana still remains on the controlled substance list, Schedule 1, right there next to LSD and heroin. Okay? So that what complicates things with the cannabis legal industry in California. We never can forget that it's still federally illegal. But to answer Tracy's question, they're both cannabis sativa plants, but they're used for different things. But the main difference is the tetrahydrocannabidiol. That's a tongue twister, so I say THC. THC is a psychoactive element in cannabis that makes you high. Okay? And that's why people use cannabis for it, to get not only the medical benefits, but that feeling of high. But industrial hemps can only have 0.3% THC or less. That's that fine line that is the difference between industrial hemp and cannabis for marijuana. And so the only way you can really determine what that is you have to sample it, send it to a lab, and have it tested. Okay? Now, it was the 2018 Farm Bill that Congress removed hemp, so it's now considered a crop. So it's now in that club I was telling you about. Okay, marijuana isn't, but now industrial hemp is. So they get the exemptions, they get the right to farm protections, okay? It's just another typical crop. A lot of similarities, looks similar to marijuana, has an odor, everybody. But I've been in the middle of a field of industrial hemp, waist high, and it was in full bloom. I couldn't smell a thing. So there's a variety of different varieties out there for odor. But we don't allow commercial in the county yet because we only allow what the 2014 Farm Bill allows, and that's only to cultivate it for research. In fact, Allan Hancock has multiple memorandums of understanding agreements with about 12 growers in our county right now to grow industrial hemp for research purposes, and I'm really excited to hear some of the work that they're doing. Doesn't have actually medicinal benefits. You've heard the CBD Okay, cannabidiol. There's also CBG, there's CBT, I mean, there's so many different CBs. The problem right now with hemp, because that's what it's grown for, fiber and seed and CBD extraction to make those little gummy bears and topicals, and let's face it, I've used them on my arthritis, and you know, it works. But the problem with that, there is no market. There shouldn't be anyways for consumables, because FDA, Food and Drug Administration, have not come up with health standards yet for CBD consumable products. There is no health standards. There is no scientific evidence or research done to tell you, is this okay to take? Does it do what it says it's going to do? Nothing's been proven with research. And until they do that, they've said CBD, human consumable products derived from industrial hemp are not legal. So they've got starting to get a little bit tough now, where they've gone out to 15 manufacturers in the country and they've fined them and they've shut them down. So now our growers have nowhere to sell, because that's where the money is with that variety. So they're trying to find out. So it's uncertain right now with the future of hemp in this county, but we should probably start seeing around July, August, a commercial hemp industry opening up in the county about that time. But great question. Very complex. It's a different time out there right now. Yes?
Well, just a question then, hemp, we don't have any commercial here. If they're using it to manufacture the CBD, but since it's not the marijuana crop, are there the same restrictions as far as testing for pesticides?
No, they don't have that for testing yet. The only thing hemp has to be, there's this misunderstanding that there is, but I have to remind people, no. Hemp is not tested for those 66 active ingredients. The only testing that they are required to do is for the amount of THC. But I've heard rumblings from Washington that FDA may come out with something as far as health standards in late 2020. Because the whole country is waiting for them to come up with something, and until then, the CBD market has really been stifled. But I have heard that the fiber variety, that's the way to go. They're making plastic parts out of it. They're making parts for automobiles, rocket parts. They even make a concrete out of hemp called hempcrete. And that's the fiber variety, which is very different looking. It's very tall. It can be like 12 feet tall. They don't want the leaves like the other varieties want. They want that stalk. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. I have. It's really bizarre, where I've looked at a cut stalk and it was hollow in the middle, and the cambium layer of the stalk was as hard as cement. It was really something I've never seen before, and that's where I'm seeing the future of the hemp industry is in the fiber variety. They make clothing out of it, which is almost bomb-proof. I mean, it lasts a long time. They used to make in the country back in the 1700s, it was required to grow for its fiber. And they made canvas sails for ships, rope, all kinds of things for it. And then the profitability for growing hemp for this purpose in the country declined around 1935 when they came out with a Marijuana Hemp Taxation Act. Because even back then, marijuana was legal. And then it was in 1965 they came up with a Controlled Substance Act that added hemp and marijuana on Schedule 1. And that's when it became illegal. But before that, both of them, it was in high demand to grow hemp back when the country was being settled, because they needed the product, because they didn't have a timber industry back then. They didn't have the ability to take trees, cut them down, make them into boards and paper like they do now. So they relied on hemp.
One other question, just again, more marijuana and hemp. What's the water requirement for those kind of crops as compared to the traditional stuff, our strawberries, our broccoli? What is the water requirement?
I don't know exactly, but I do know all of the hemp that's being grown out there right now is on drip irrigation. So it's very efficient irrigation, where you have drip tape and then the drip emitter it just drips water right to the roots. So it's not others where you see sprinklers going. It's a very, very efficient use of water. I don't know the amount, honestly, but I think it's probably in the same ballpark of other drip irrigated type crops. But you know, they have a lot of disease pressure. It's a new crop they're learning how to grow. This is a whole learning curve for them. They don't have the equipment to farm it, so it's all by hand, loppers. They have a lot of pest problems they didn't count on. One is corn earworm. You know that icky worm that gets into sweet corn and can ruin the top third? It loves hemp flowers. And it gets in there and it just destroys the hemp flower, and it's all brown and it just falls apart. Powdery mildew is a serious pest problem for them they're struggling with. And then, and European corn borer and mites. Because they as well are limited on only using exempt materials. They can't use other pesticides. And exempt materials are like flavored oils, garlic oil, neem oil, things like that. And that's, they don't have enough tools to deal with the pest issues. So yeah, there was a lot of, I was trying to caution the growers, be careful, don't go gangbusters yet, this is new. I always like to pilot, go small, and they didn't listen. So there was a lot of loss, and I've been hearing the cost they didn't anticipate because of laborers. It's a lot, and they just didn't have the CBD market, so a lot of it was wasted. Yeah, they lost a lot of money. In fact, I heard a very, very depressing statistic when hemp became legal. There were a lot of growers across the country who was struggling. They were, in debt and weren't making it for conventional crops, so they went all in for hemp, thinking it was going to be the El Dorado. And I heard there's been about a dozen suicides because they went all in, and the CBD market wasn't there. Yeah, it's very sad. So the future of hemp in the county is very uncertain at this point in time because of where it's at. But it's my guess once California gets a manufacturing infrastructure for whether fiber, because that doesn't exist now, and so they have to ship it out of state. And those states aren't buying because they're already at full capacity. So it's nowhere for it to go. So until California gets an infrastructure for manufacturing, things are going to be pretty kind of sputtering along right now.
Thank you. One of our commissioners makes necklaces, and it's called the Birth of Reason. And all women and everybody, human beings, are created from an egg, so it's kind of a little egg, and it has a little story with it. So Commissioner Judy Weisbar has created these and made these, so this is a gift. And also I'm going to bring up Lisa Thornhill. Lisa has a gift for you from the League of Women Voters.
How lovely.
Thank you for speaking, and Lisa's my
That was very good. Thank you so much for the information. And the league is giving Cathy a calendar that marks the 100 years that women have had the right to vote. So this is a gift from our league to you, and thank you again.
Thank you so much.